What's up, everybody? It is Jackie with Recharge Your Reason, and here I am with the part 2 of my Building Your Solid Foundation for a Relationship tips, tricks, however you want to go about it. Today's topic, I decided to kind of pick out what the core values I think are important for a relationship, and kind of relate them to my own relationship. So I've gone through and I've really kind of picked out what I think is most important. And I just wanted to take a minute to share those with you. So, in no particular order, I've gone with trust, honesty, forgiveness, communication, taking ownership, and unconditional love. Now, obviously, these are kind of vague topics, and I'm going to break down each one individually. Now, I said that they're all core values to my relationship, so I don't really know how I could go ahead and pick like which one is most important out of the 6, but I guess I'd have to start with I'd want to start with talking about communication. And I would say to start with communication because I think this may be where a lot of people lack. And I think it took a long time in my own relationship to develop the line of communication that we have today. A little bit of background is I kind of struggled with some depression after I had my children, and it was a very, very hard thing to discuss, not only with my family, with my friends, but to admit to myself. So to really come out and discuss it with Jimmy was something that I was not at all comfortable with. I avoided a lot. I kept things inside, and that can tear you apart. And not only can it tear you apart, it can tear your relationship apart without even knowing why. So I think I would definitely agree with my statement that communication is something that you should value and work on if you're not right now. I would suggest just testing your boundaries. Try to talk about something with your spouse that you think might make them a little bit uncomfortable, and explain to them why it's something important that you would like to speak about. From there, I would want to go with trust. Clearly, you need to trust the person you're with. I think as human beings, we're vulnerable. Once we get hurt, we find it very hard to trust somebody again. Without going into too much detail, Jimmy and I have been in many situations where you have to let things break in order to build them up a little bit. And I think that it's the rebuilding process that is what helps your relationship kind of build that solid foundation. You know, breaking something and putting it back together so that it doesn't happen again is such a great way to ensure, things not breaking again. I know easier said than done. And when somebody crosses a boundary or breaks that trust, it's not an instant fix. You don't wake up the next day and forget that anything happened. It takes time, and it leads you back to that first core value that I talked about, communication. So again, trust, I think, is something that you need to have and continuously work on. From there, I want to go and touch upon honesty. Honesty is a big, big, big part of our relationship, and this comes down to like even simple things, like when I'm getting ready to go out for the night, I don't send a picture to my friends saying, how do I look? I go to Jimmy and say, how do I look? Because Jimmy knows how I feel when I'm uncomfortable. And he is comfortable enough in our relationship to be able to tell me if something doesn't look right, to the extent where I will be uncomfortable all night. Not because he cares what I look like, but he cares about my feelings. And, you know, I think something we learn as little kids is, you know, the white lies, the little white lies that don't seem to hurt anybody at the time. Sometimes are for the benefit of hurting a relationship, or hurting someone's feelings for that matter, will only continue to grow and build to be something bigger. So if you can just avoid that situation in the whole, as a whole, I would say just avoid it and be as honest and as upfront as you can be with one another. I kind of grouped the next two together, forgiveness and not communication. We already talked about that. I'm sorry. That's the fun of doing these videos. Sometimes I get a little sidetracked. Forgiveness and taking ownership. And I group these together for reasons you can imagine. You know, a relationship is a two-way street. It's a known fact that things are gonna go wrong. Things are gonna happen. You're gonna say things you don't mean. Situations are gonna arise where you're gonna need to either ask forgiveness or be the one to have to give forgiveness. And you have to go into a relationship knowing that this is to be expected. Taking ownership for when you do something wrong, I think, opens up the path of forgiveness for your spouse. It makes it a little easier for them to forgive once you take ownership. So this is why I grouped the two together. Lastly, I wanted to point out that I think one of the strongest core values that Jimmy and I have is unconditional love. I love him and our relationship and our family very passionately and very hard. I don't just say I love you to say I love you. I say I love you with full-blown meaning behind it. And if you cannot express your love for your spouse in a way of like speaking it, there are plenty of ways to show it. You know, bringing home flowers after a long day's work. And I don't mean going to the store and getting like $90 roses. I mean stopping on the side of the road and saying, this made me think of you, is just gonna make that your significant other feel that much more special, that you took the time out of your day when you have your own crazy stressful life going on, but yet they're in the back of your mind or in the front of your mind and always there with you. I think unconditional love means no matter how bad it gets, no matter how hard times are, you can look into the eyes of that person and just feel okay. It's such an overwhelming feeling. And after 13 years of telling the same man how much I love him, it has gotten stronger and more fulfilling every single day. And to me, that is unconditional love. I hope I provided you guys with some insight on what keeps us kind of pushing along and what holds the glue together for our foundation. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. If you didn't get to check out my first video on why I feel relationships don't work, definitely check that out. The link is posted with this blog as well. I hope you guys have a great experience in whether you're already madly in love or you're searching for love. I appreciate any feedback and or questions you may have. Thank you. Again, I'm Jackie with Recharge Your Reason, and have a great day.